Hey everyone, great to see you all. I'm going to be the annoying person who asks everyone to stand up for a second. It's going to really help us, I promise. Everyone stand up real quick, just real quick. All right. Unless you can't physically, which is totally fine. If you could stand up real quick, even the ones on their phone. It's kind of awkward. There's the one person on their phone. Whatever. I'll get her up. She'll be okay. Okay. First of all, clap your hands if you like chocolate. Okay. What do you think about cows? They're cute? Yeah? No? You don't have to if you don't like cows. Just, I might question your morals, but. Okay. So sit down if you represent a corporate, if you're part of a company interested in this space. Okay. What corporate are you from? Say it loudly. DSM Farmanish. And who else sat down? Both of you, yeah. Okay, and? Okay, great. Sit down if you're an investor or working for an investor of sorts. Which one? Ultra VC, okay. And sit down if you have a startup and interested in the space. Oh, a startup, yeah, if you're part of a startup. Okay, okay. Sit down if you are part of an NGO or a state or country level agency. Oh, interesting. Okay, sit down if you're none of the above. You're awesome. I want to meet you guys after. Okay, so nature's gadgets is a massive topic. We're going to go through the lens of chocolate and cows. And then we're going to step back and see what NBS means, circular economy, and then we're going to step back and really explain to you why you should give a damn like right now. But I'm going to start with my good new friend, Antoine. Tell me about chocolate.
All right, so you may have heard that the chocolate world is going through a bit of a crisis. The cocoa prices have gone up tremendously from about $3,000 a ton to $8,000 a ton in the past 12 months. And it's mostly linked to the situation in Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana in West Africa, where 80% of the cocoa come in the world, and the situation, the state of the soil. There's a huge soil fertility issue. Why is that? Because those two countries have been deforested massively in order to grow cocoa. 80% of the primary forest is gone, and that happened in the past 30, 40 years. And there's been monoculture cocoa with a lot of fertilizers, a lot of practices that are really extractive from the soil. And today, cocoa is in crisis because cocoa doesn't grow as much as it used to. The yields are going down, the farmers are struggling, the supply is low, and therefore the prices go up. And the good news is that there's a solution to it, and the solution is nature. Cocoa thrives in a primary forest. That's why it grows so well in Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana, because there is a lot of primary forests. All around the Equatorial belt in this area of the world, cocoa grows very well. But if you put it in monoculture, it doesn't work that well. On the short term, maybe it does. That's what happened in the past 20 years. But now, 20 years later, the soil has been so depleted that it doesn't grow anymore. We often at Pure talk about farming like a forest. We bring trees back into agricultural farmland, and that's what we got to do with cocoa. Bring the trees back, create a forest again, and then you're going to see collaboration between the plants. An example that I like is that a cocoa tree is very acidic. It makes the pH of the soil really acidic. If you put a banana plant right next to it, then the banana plant tends to have a pH that's very high, and therefore both pHs kind of balance itself. And then the soil goes back to its neutral pH, and therefore a fertile soil. That's a type of solution. That's just nature, right? No tech involved, just a banana plant next to a cocoa tree, and that can reverse this crisis that we're facing today.
So Pure Projet is a project developer focusing on nature-based solutions. Those are terms most people have no idea what they mean. So explain really quickly, what do you do and why would anyone pay for it?
Yes. So project developer, indeed, we are. That means we implement projects in mostly agricultural supply chains, and those projects are what we call nature-based solutions. Solutions to what? Solutions to the climate crisis, to biodiversity crisis, water crisis. And concretely, nature-based, that means we plant trees, what we call agroforestry, trees in farmland. We reforest, we forest conservation, we'll do marine restoration, anything around pretty much regenerating ecosystems. And our clients are pretty much large corporations that have a supply chain in agriculture. Our biggest client is Nespresso in coffee, Nestle also in coffee. We have Unilever in some of their wheat and row crops here in Europe. And those clients, why are they paying for it today? Is because in the past, it's because they, as a corporate, they felt that they had something to do for corporate social responsibility for climate change and biodiversity laws. Today, it's procurement departments that are realizing that if they don't do anything, they're going to lose their main crops. Cocoa is a perfect example. If you're a cocoa actor, if you don't start planting trees, you're literally not going to have cocoa in 10, 20 years. And so that pressure coming, we call it building resilience in the supply chain in face of climate change, in face of biodiversity loss, that's really what's now triggering big budgets and investment into their supply chain. It's not happening fast enough yet. Some private sector actors are starting to think about it, but not fast enough, to my opinion.
Okay. Show of hands, does anyone not understand what nature-based solutions means?
It's okay if you
Don't be shy. Okay, we're going to get deeper into that. Also, we're going to try to have time for some questions towards the end, so keep that in mind as well. So what you're saying is that unless we do something about it, we're not going to have chocolate.
Exactly.
Also coffee, by the way. No, I'm addicted, so we're not going to have coffee in 10 years. Big companies are already thinking about synthetic coffee. Straight, like, science fiction stuff is already happening, so we got to do something about it. Really briefly, I run an organization called the Nature Tech Collective. We're a category-building nonprofit, and that category is nature tech solutions to growth hack our way to effective coexistence with the rest of nature. Our biggest partners are the implementers and then the solution providers, and we're going to get to Tharoon. So Tharoon, talk to me about cows.
Yeah. Hi all, I'm Tarun from Bangalore, India. We're a startup focusing on water. So we convert bad water to good water, bad water sewage to good water without using power or chemicals. So no power, no chemicals, we convert using a concept called biomimicry. Biomimicry is mimicking nature. So we mimic a cow's stomach. I don't know how many people know the cow has got 4 chambers, 4 stomachs. Unlike us, we have only 1 stomach.
How many people knew that? Nice. Yeah. Okay, all right.
Yeah, so cow stomach is very powerful. I mean, it can digest even cellulose. Our stomach cannot digest cellulose. We eat something more, that's it, we're gone. But cow stomach is very powerful. So we try to learn this, right? How the cow stomach works? So we found there's a special anaerobic bacteria. There are 2 types of bacteria, aerobic, anaerobic. Anaerobic bacteria in the cow stomach breaks down the waste. So same thing we copied along with our mentors, Biomimicry Institute based out of US, Montana. In fact, we're a startup, we got a grant from them, and that's how we started. So we mimic the 4 chambers in a civil structure. It's a box, 4 structured box. You put bad water in, you get good water out. No power, no chemicals. And it works. We reclaimed 3 billion liters of sewage so far. 3 billion liters of sewage without no power, no chemical in India. And now we are planning to go global. So that's where, in a brief.
Wow, okay. 3 billion cubic meters of water with no power, low maintenance. And this, remind me how small versus and how big could a structure be? And also, in terms of, are there geographic boundaries? Is it accessible to anywhere?
Yeah, it's primarily towards human waste from a small 6 homes or 7 homes to 4,000 homes. That's the range. So a small community, instead of sending it centrally in a big pipe to a central STP, what we call sewage treatment plant, you can decentralize it, make it not off-grid in a small community, and then you can reuse the water back. So suppose this building has got a eco STP, we call, you get the water, and you can use the water back for floor cleaning, flushing, and etc. Not for drinking, but rest everything we can use the water. So that's a use case, and we do that in India, and now we just are going to start in Bangladesh.
So this is, for me, maybe the perfect example of circular economy. Literally, you use the water, it goes through that system, and it goes back, so you can flush it over and over. That's out of this world.
Yeah, it is a kind of, I would say, criminal to use the water only once. You should never use the water only once. Yeah. Right? You should not do this, and we all do this, but...
Yeah. So, as I said, an example of an implementer and an example of an actual solution. Usually, corporates will work with an implementer to get to the solution. So that's how usually it works in the space. Antoine, so nature-based solutions, things like carbon credits, some of you may have heard of Red Plus projects and carbon credits and all that stuff, have gone through a bit of a, shall we say, an image problem. There's what we term a trust deficit, unfortunately. So one of the ways that we think one of the ways to avoid this or to deal with it is through transparency and actual hard data. So how does Pure and its different and varied projects actually go through the process of collecting data, providing transparency in terms of what's working and what's not working, and of course storytelling, as you are the CMO.
Yes.
How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, well, exactly. Big believer in transparency and data. That's how you respond to greenwashing attacks or reputational risk. I also go back to the main goal of our clients. Why are they doing this? As I said earlier, when it was about corporate social responsibility, it was a lot about greening their image, right? And without a lot of really foundation. It was just like, let's buy carbon credit so that we could say that our carbon footprint has been reduced. Well, that was not true, right? You're just compensating something, but you're not really changing anything in the supply chain. So part of the before transparency and data is moving away from that approach to something that's really focused in your supply chain about reducing your footprint and putting things in place so that you sequester carbon as you grow the coffee, as you grow cocoa. Once you establish that foundation, then you're already solving 80% of your operational risk because you're in the right approach. You're really transforming the way you do business. That's what we ask as a society today, right? Is to transform the way we do business, the way we grow our food, so that we can reverse climate change and reverse the biodiversity loss that we see today. Then once you establish that, then indeed, as you implement a project, you want to make sure that whatever you're promising your client or promising consumers is actually happening, right? So we're promising that biodiversity comes back once we plant trees in a coffee field. Can we actually measure that and bring data in order to prove it? We just started a partnership with Cornell University, who has the biggest lab of ornithology in the world, so watching birds. And we're talking about tech in this conference. They have this citizen science-based app where people just walking in nature just spot birds and put it into an app. And so in Colombia, where we have most of our projects in coffee, they have a big database of birds in Colombia. And they were able to, we have geospatial location of all of the parcels we work with, so we gave that to them, and they were able to isolate our parcels, look at bird situation 10 years ago, 5 years ago, today, and compare that to the average in Colombia. And the good news is that we saw a direct correlation between trees being planted and growing and the amount of birds that were spotted. And we start having now to have data to support that claim that we're making often when we sell our projects, is that biodiversity will come back thanks to the trees. And I think for our clients to be able to show that data, that will clearly help towards reputation and, again, responding to any attacks of greenwashing.
Yeah. In the meantime, if you guys have any questions, you could raise your hand. There'll be someone with a microphone. We want to make this as collaborative as possible.
Go for it.
Yeah, we already have a question. If anyone wants to run over. Just yell it
Yeah,
out.
I can hear you.
I'll repeat it.
So I was wondering, Antoine, how you built up the expertise. So you were just saying, for example, your client Nestlé has a problem in the Ivory Coast, the cocoa trees are not growing. They call you, and then you call experts, or you have within your team experts?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, the reason why I think we bring something to those large clients is because we have agronomists in the field. We have 15 different offices, Bogota, Abidjan, Singapore, Jakarta. We're very close to the projects. And the people that work for us, we're about 200, and 100 of them are in these offices in the field. And most of them are agronomists. We have a few PhDs in the headquarters, PhDs in agroforestry, PhDs in regenerative agriculture. But that's where our expertise lies. But beyond, because you could imagine that Nestlé also has PhDs, right, on agronomy. But what they don't have often is people in the field. Nestlé buys from traders, who buy from traders, who buy from traders, and they're very disconnected from the field. We're not, right? And I often say that, again, the value we bring is that we're in the field, so we know the farmers, but we're also a global organization that speaks the language of our clients, and we make that bridge pretty much.
And where are you from?
Belgium.
Belgium. Okay. They know something about chocolate, too.
They know something about chocolate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tarun, so I watched the videos on your website. They have a ticker literally tells you how much water they're saving, like by the second. It's pretty amazing. So you're working with like the biggest companies in India, Tata Steel. right? And you were relating to me how the hardest part of the sales pitch is actually convincing them that it actually works, because you're saying you don't need power, you don't need chemicals, and all the rest.
Yeah.
How do you go about doing that? How do you even reach a corporate in terms of a pitch? And then just generally speaking, where do you see your technology kind of moving forward when it comes to, on a state level? How can we take advantage of this on a global level?
Right. So when we started, we had this product in a lab. We got it all ready, but we couldn't sell it because no one is believing it. So if we say no power, no chemical, it's too good to be true. How does it work? So we got some initial pilot customers, and we made customers as the champions. They will speak about us. Then we stopped selling completely. We only sell through customers. We make customers as the champions. Like in this case, Tata Steel, we got the general manager of Tata Steel speaking about his experience of treating bad water, good water without working well. And so Tata Steel is a big brand. So I ride on the Tata Steel brand, or Axler is another steel company, the brand. So now we have 25 customers, CEOs in my website. They speak about our company. So the 25 customers speaking on a website is a powerful pitch than I going and knocking the door. The problem is big. If you look at India, it's 93% of the sewage is not treated. 93%. It's a big, big problem. Why we are not able to treat is the current technology. That's one thing very curious. The technology what we have today is only to blow air through fecal matter in a large tank. So technology is not changed for the last 100 years. So 100 years, it's not only India, it's all over the world. Everything is changed. Your cell phone technology has changed, everything is changed. Here, the only way to treat sewage is to blow air through fecal matter, and you put aerobic bacteria. So aerobic and aerobic. We put aerobic bacteria, and that works. But if someone has to blow air, we need power, chemicals. But the same thing is continuing for the last 100 years, 110 years, in fact. So we went back and said, how did nature solve this, right? You can't blow air. So that's how the solution came in, and that's how we've been doing it. And we measure metrics, like how many, like he said, how much power how much sewage we treated on a daily basis, and how much power you saved. Because at the end of the day, you're saving power. It's a real-time clock. And especially in India, the power comes from coal. So how much coal we saved? Because that's more important than, it's easy to say CO2 sequestration, but where is the power coming from? Coal. So 70% coming from coal. So we measure the coal, how much coal. So some 4,500 tons of metric tons of coal we saved so far. So that keeps tickering going on. So we go to approach customers and ask the goodness, guys, look at this. I'm treating a sewage and also doing cost for you at a company, your stewardship, and for the country. And of course, you can make money. So we show the money, how much money they can save, and make customers speak. And that's how we've been. And like you said, storytelling, let's build up the stories around it, and that's how we've been able to do so far.
Yeah, in our research and surveys, we found out that as nice as storytelling is, the only way we're actually going to get to this new paradigm where we're closing what is an annual $700 billion nature finance gap is when we get to the conversation, to the balance sheet, to the CFOs.
Yeah.
So that's all nice, but am I either saving money or am I saving my business in the future? You were going to say something.
Yeah, no, I just going to rebound on this idea that the solution is too good to be true, especially when we talk about nature. Our brains have been wired that innovation means tech. Innovation means something that didn't exist before, and we're looking for that. When we just have to look back and be like, actually, we used to do it right. Nature, the cows have been doing it for a million years. And for nature-based solution, it's the same idea, right? Like we used to farm in a way that was good for the soil. Indigenous people in the US have been doing that and everywhere in the world, but especially there's still that knowledge from indigenous people in the US that we're almost losing now, but if we go back to what they were doing, they have the solution. So I just wanted to say that is that I think right now, in this part of the storytelling, we have to go past that gap of it's too easy, therefore it's not going to work. No, it will work. Plant trees and your yields will get better. No need for power. The water will actually also get filtered.
Yeah. Any other questions from the crowd? I go on this for a while. You want to run over it? Microphone. I think they wanted to for the recording. And just let us know your name and where you're from.
Yeah, my name is Yuri. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, my name is Yuri. I represent Ultra VC. So, first off, thanks for such a fruitful conversation. You're obviously at the forefront of the knowledge in the nature tech lab space. So, and I have a question for like each one of you. Do you see any like overlooked trends, both like it can be either sociocultural or technical in the space that like make you very excited, but most of the people just like don't notice for now? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. Tarun, do you want to?
Yeah, I guess, of course, the belief that nature has got solutions, right? So that's important. And one great example I can give is the great, I don't know how many swimmers are here. Mike Schweppes, the swimmer, who won 8 gold in Beijing Olympics. He won 8 gold, one guy. 8 golds he won. Because he was wearing a shark fin suit.
Mike Phelps, the swimmer.
Yeah.
Right,
So it's made by Speedo. So the sharks, when they go through water, they glide through. And you get the technical name is known as a 15% drain gain. That's how they move. And he wore that suit, and he won 8 golds, right? So possible, right? Of course, he's a great swimmer, no doubt, but a small edge. In Olympics, the winner and loser is only milliseconds. So if you get a small millisecond edge, the guy wins. So he won 8 gold. So and it was banned immediately. So nature has, and it's no moving parts, no technology, no AI. It's just a small, what you call dendricles on the. So how do you make the dendricle? That's known as biomimetics. How do you copy a shark? Yeah. So Speedo did is where the engineering comes in. The Speedo did a nice ceramic engineering, and they got this dress with the small dendricles. Of course, you can use only once, but who cares? If I once have 8 golds, then I can throw it away. So you wear that dress, and that's it. So nature has got a solution that drives you, inspires you. Yes, that will be everything is possible. If you look into nature, of course, it's not easy. Like we said, it's not easy to sell, but definitely that was a trigger point.
Yeah.
It's possible. You don't need tech. I mean, the tech, what we see.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a rebound to that too, I think the day the private sector realizes that nature is part of the solution, and I believe the main one, then I think that's when we'll start closing the gap of investments, and private sector starts to invest in nature. And you ask if there's something exciting happening, I think it's starting, right? Again, not fast enough, but it's starting. On the other side, I think what's happening is regulations, right? Like Europe has a directive now against deforestation that's also forcing those private sector actors start to act, right? There's regulation in Côte d'Ivoire, I was talking about cocoa, that starts saying that no more deforestation, and you have to start putting agroforestry. If not, you cannot sell cocoa or export it. It's bold from the government of Côte d'Ivoire, who really relies on the cocoa industry. It's very bold to do that, and it's going to take time for it to be implemented. So I'm excited to see regulations be part of the picture, because I think they will play a huge role.
Tech investing? You're a VC. You do tech investing?
Yeah, we have infrastructure investment. So we invest in product that's improve people's quality of life.
Okay.
By the way, just by selling.
Okay. I'm a bit subjective, but oh my God, is there an opportunity? $7 trillion AUM. Is that big enough of an AUM, of a TAM, if we're speaking investor speak? There's $7 trillion a year that's considered nature negative, okay? That means that there's $7 trillion in opportunities to flip the script. Everyone's talking about AI, okay? AI is a garbage in, garbage out situation unless you have quality data. And guess what? We don't even have a baseline on nature. We don't even know what the state of nature is, right? If you pull on your iPhone or Google or whatever, you want the weather, you get it in 2 seconds. We don't do that for nature. So nature data collection, forget about it. That's trillions of dollars right there. If we're talking about blockchain, I'm a rehabilitated blockchain founder myself. A lot of opportunities, especially when you're talking about data transparency and privacy. We're talking to some of the biggest blockchain players, chains y'all know, who are all trying to get involved in this space. If we're talking about ag tech, it's all about, again, deployment and transparency. I mean, like I could go sector by sector, and of course the big hammer, which is what you mentioned, that's risk. Like the reason there's a gap is because the banks do not have the data in order to create insurance products. Right now in the States, if you want to go into regenerative agriculture, you lose your insurance. The USDA will strip you of your insurance. It's not because they're bad. It's not because I don't know if it works or not. I can't blame them. So the opportunities are massive, and there aren't that many players from the investor space that are looking to it yet. But when they look in, they're like, they're hooked. They switch their entire thesis to it. Yeah.
My question is for, I'm Francisco, co-founder of Neto. Neto is a solution for project developers. We help sell the future production by selling the digital forward carbon credits. My question is, how do you see besides the interest in the deforestation project, do you see interest from corporate side about carbon credit or biodiversity credits?
So we're talking about Signal.
Yes.
Perfect segue.
All right, so yes, of course, large corporations are looking at carbon credits and especially now biodiversity credits. There are some standards that are starting to be put in place for biodiversity. A big one is called Vera as a certifier, a big one in the carbon side, and now they're doing biodiversity. We're part of like the piloting of putting the standards together. The one thing that's happening though on the corporate side, and especially the big ones, because of reputational risk, they're saying, Unilever, for example, is saying, we are not going to use carbon credits. We are investing in our supply chains. We are mostly doing it for resilience. Maybe we'll measure carbon once we've planting trees or doing cover crops or using compost. But we're not interested in credits. We're interested in transforming our supply chain to make it resilient. And I think that's a big signal because while credits are going to be important, especially when you look at net zero, right? You still have the 10% of your net zero goals that can be used with credits. But 90% is about your own supply chain and your impact and reducing that impact. The good news, it's the same initiative, it's the same project, it's the same thing, agroforestry, planting trees, cover crops. Some can yield carbon credits, some can yield biodiversity credits, some are going to yield just a resilient supply chain. So I think it's healthy that this world is being challenged right now around the credits, but if anything, I think it's going to clarify and support more of what we do, which is, again, bringing back trees into agriculture and doing pretty much carbon projects for the right reason, not just to get a credits that you can trade or put on your balance sheet. We were talking about the CFOs earlier. That used to be an argument, right? Put it in a balance sheet. You can invest in it, and it's an asset. You can resell it. It's going to go up. Okay, sure. But that's not really what we're talking about now. We're talking about a resilient supply chain. Almost the credits don't matter in that sense, right? So that's the signal I'm seeing, right, from corporation, is credits are still part of the picture, but they're not the entry point. The entry point in their supply chain, if that makes sense.
Any other questions for the audience? Ooh, right on.
Hello, my name is Cesar. I'm a data engineer, a computer science background, and artificial intelligence. And I used to be a big fan of natural computing back in my student days. So I know what you do is bringing tech to nature, but I was wondering if you also do or have considered doing the other way around, getting inspiration from nature to be applied in tech. Just because, for example, as you can see, as you know, right now hardware has allowed us to bring nature ideas to reality, like neural networks in artificial intelligence, which existed from a very long time ago, but now they are happening. So there are so many solutions like immune systems, so many things, and genetic algorithms. And I was hoping that someday these solutions could be brought to reality. And I was just wondering if you have done some research on this area, or if you are planning to implement some projects. I'm just curious about this. Maybe it's too broad of a question.
Funny you should ask that, because I think it's called biomimicry.
Yeah.
And so just define it once again, because that's literally his product and his solution. And then I'd like, because we're running against time, so Tarun, maybe think of what is the one message you want to send out, and then you could take that after, and we'll just wrap there.
Yeah, just to answer, the answer is yes, it's possible. In fact, now it's known as, in our field, it's known as green chemistry. So last year we got selected as by ACS, American Chemical Institute, as one of the 20 companies working on water. Because why we asked them? Because I'm not doing any tech here. There's no deep tech. No, you're green chemistry. So wow, great. So this is happening. So the entire definition of tech is changing. Right? Nature is getting a tag called green chemistry or synthetic biology. So that's the science behind this. Biomimicry itself is a huge science. It's been taught now in many colleges worldwide. So that is happening. So, but you have to be curious to look out and believe that it's possible. Nature has got a solution.
Again, like he looked at the stomach of a cow, and he's like, I will use that for water purification.
That's what
exactly
I was asking. Yeah,
so he does that, and there's Biomimicry Institute, Biomimicry 3.8 is another one, it's definitely a movement that's going throughout. So absolutely, you'll see even in in cars, it's everywhere at this point. And what's the one message you want to share?
It's possible.
Nature's
Nature has
possible.
got solutions. This room, you don't need air conditioner. You can made a termites. The inside the termites mound, it's cool air because the way it works. So you can. It's possible. It's just be used to it.
Yeah.
It's easy to switch on AC on than looking out for nature.
That's one.
One more question regarding this. Have you considered bioluminescence within trees just to replace current lighting in the streets? Is that something feasible?
Yeah, he's the man. Tree.
Yeah, we work a lot with trees. We have not looked at this because we're more on the farmland. But yes, it's the same idea, right? Yeah. It's like, what can we learn from trees and implement in our current urban situations and technology?
Lots to learn.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what's your one message?
Yeah, one message on that topic of tech and nature being complementary. I think, again, my message is that nature is the main solution to climate change, to biodiversity loss, to water loss. Nature is a solution. Let's not put all of our money on tech, which is what's happening now. Let's put a lot of that money in nature. This say tech can complement. We, for example, monitor our trees in the field. It costs a lot of money, but we have to look. But technology can come in, satellite imagery, remote sensing, to complement what we see in the field. It can tell us, oh, there's been a flood. We did not know, we didn't see it, but then because now satellite have told us there's been a flood in this location, we go back, and then we look at the damages, survival rate, and then we replant. So there's a real complementary story here, but nature first, and especially because there's a huge gap of investment now. So for all of you in the room, let's invest in nature.
That's it.
Brilliant. Thank you.